Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. As has just been mentioned, I am the Managing Director of the Academic Publishing Group at Cambridge University Press, and I'm going to say a few words about what we do and what we try to do to support African research. I wanted to start, though, by saying a few words about Cambridge University Press. As you can see, this is our mission statement, and we're here to support the university's mission by disseminating knowledge in the pursuit of education, learning and research at the highest international levels of excellence. So as a department of the university, we're here to support the university's mission through our high-quality publishing. But I think the key word in this mission statement in relation to today's session is the word international. So our remit is for full global publishing, and that informs everything that we do. Let me give you a few facts and figures about Cambridge University Press then. So we are the oldest university press in the world. As I've said, we are a department of the university. It sometimes surprises me that people don't realise that we're a department of the university. Sometimes people think we're quite separate, but we're not. We're a full department. We have three different publishing groups: the academic publishing group, for which I'm a part, English language teaching and education. Within the academic publishing group, we produce about 1,500 books a year across monographs, reference works and higher education textbooks, and about 350 journals a year. And these are spread across a wide range of subjects across humanities, social sciences and STM. So I'm going to now move on to say a little bit about what we do to support African research, giving some examples of some direct examples of support, then how we maximise dissemination of our content, and lastly, how we work with African authors. I was delighted earlier this afternoon to hear Irene's presentation talking about the AIMS Institutes and that Cambridge University Press was mentioned. We were an early sponsor and an ongoing sponsor for AIMS. This is something quite unusual for us to actually be a direct financial sponsor. We've given a donation of £25,000 a year for 10 years to AIMS, and that is, as I say, quite unusual for us. But I think it's an indication of how seriously we take the work that AIMS is doing. In addition, as was mentioned, we've set up this book series, and so far 7 books have been published, and there are many more on the way. We also provide free books to AIMS, print books to AIMS institutes, and we're in the process of confirming a deal to provide free e-books to all networked AIMS institutes. But that's just one example. It's one of the more tangible examples where we've handed over actual money, which we don't do very often. But there are many examples where we do provide a range of support. So, for example, we support the Yoruba poetry workshops, and we provide that support by facilitating their organisation, using our networks and contacts to help the organisation of those workshops. In a number of areas, we also promote our journals through conferences, and that's something, obviously, that we do globally. So you might think, well, why is that different in Africa? And I think what's different about our work in Africa with conferences is quite often they're much smaller organisations than we would be involved in elsewhere. And that quite often means we have much more involved relationships when trying to attend those conferences. And also we're very aware that the money that we spend to attend those conferences can have a real impact. So it's something that it's not often not the same as us attending a conference in the States or in the UK where we just pay some money, turn up. It's actually, as I say, a much more involved relationship that we might be involved in. And I want to just mention a few of our specific products. So Africa Bibliography is a wonderful online database. It goes back to 1984. It's published annually. And it's, I'm going to have to read this bit, but it's a large and authoritative guide to the works of African studies, been published under the auspices of the International African Institute, and includes a wide range of works, monographs, chapters in edited volumes, journal articles and pamphlets, and covers all regions of Africa. It's also across a range of languages, which of course is incredibly important. And we were delighted that in 2014 this won a prize from the Africana Librarians Council of the African Studies Association, recognising what it was trying to achieve. Moving on to one of the journals that we publish, a journal called Africa. And what I wanted to highlight here is a thematic strand called Local Intellectuals. As it says on the slide, this highlights obscure or unpublished texts by Africans writing outside the academic or literary mainstream. I think what's really interesting here is that the editorial team are working with atypical author groups, so teachers and clergy, for example. Not our normal academics writers that we would have in most of our journals, but they're recognising that quite often scholarship in Africa can be found in very different places. So the journal is working to highlight those. And because we've realised that this is such an unusual piece of publishing, we're doing a lot to promote it in different ways. So we work hard to promote it in a variety of different ways. Including we now have a Twitter feed. The number of followers there, as you'll see, is relatively small, but I'm pleased to say that's growing. And it's just trying to highlight this important work in a number of different ways. So now I want to just move on to talking about how we disseminate our publishing throughout Africa, because one of the criticisms that's often laid at publishers' doors is our prices are too high and researchers in developing countries can't afford to buy our content. And I think that was first recognised in the journal world, which I'll talk about in a moment. But for books, we do have a number of lower-priced editions where we see real potential, and we're working at the moment to with a potential experiment to supply textbooks via low-bandwidth mobile phones in some countries. At the moment, those experiments are very low scale, small scale, but we are hoping that we can increase them in due course. I mentioned that the journal programme has been going for longer, and of course this is a multi-publisher programme. There are a number of them. I've mentioned just two here, INASP and Research for Life. Research for Life is a combination of a number of programmes, Hinari and Agora, for example. Just through Research for Life, our journals are available through 4,150 institutes across Africa. I know you're not going to be able to see all of the countries around the pie chart there. What I really wanted to just show you is there's an awful lot of countries that we're reaching across Africa. So the 4,150 institutes are spread across a wide range of countries. We are also in talks with Research for Life about making some of our digital books available through the same programme, and I would hope by 2017 that we'll be able to do that. 2017 might sound like a long way away. I wish we could do these things faster, but it just seems to always take a long time. I also wanted to mention another programme from Research for Life, which is their Unsung Heroes programme, which is where they're really working with librarians, because I think it's one step for us to make our content available, but quite often people don't know it's available, they don't know how to work with it, they don't know what's there for them to use. So the work of the librarian is absolutely key, and as I say, Research for Life are highlighting this and supporting librarians, and I'd be very interested in ways, if anyone has suggestions of ways that we could do more directly as well. I've mentioned our publishing, and this is just a few examples of some cover shots. So now I just wanted to move on to talk about our work with authors. Like any publisher, authors are our lifeblood. We rely on publishing the work of high-quality authors to be a high-quality publisher. But the work of our editorial teams is always important, working with those authors to improve and support the work. And I think that peer review process, that editorial process, is something that we're very proud of. And when that one-to-one work happens with an African author, I'm sure that it can really help the authors in many ways, as it does with authors around the world. But there are other ways that we support authors. We offer language editing. At the moment, we don't do that directly. We offer it through third parties, but we are looking at doing it directly ourselves as well. Obviously, our books programme and our journals programme all focus on high-quality peer review. And I think what's important about that peer review process, both across our books and journals, is it's not just a peer review process that leads to a yes or a no. It's a peer review process that offers detailed feedback that will tell authors how they can improve their article or how they can improve their book chapter, and perhaps even help them improve their research. And it's something that our editorial teams, when it's a book, our internal editorial teams, or when it's a journal, our external editorial teams take very seriously. And when we talk quite a lot with our journal teams about how important that process is. Final point I've made on this slide is relating to author workshops, and I've been interested to see the number of times that working with authors has come up this afternoon. It's something that we do on an ad hoc basis at the moment. So sometimes one of our commissioning editors will be in an institution and they will offer to do a workshop, but it's something we are interested in doing in a more systematic basis, and I'd be interested in anyone's views on that and what would make that attractive. And I think it's something that us as a university press maybe can take a different angle to other services that are out there, or offers that are out there. We do think that it's something that we often see authors come to us and they just don't know how to submit, what the peer review process is. I've had people say to me, oh, but my article, they sent me back comments, does that mean that's been rejected? Or people take offence because they've been rejected and they don't realise a journal actually might have an 80% rejection rate, so it's not unusual for articles to be rejected. I've had researchers say to me, what should they research? They actually want help and support identifying what topics are likely to lead to acceptable articles. So I think there's an awful lot that perhaps not just Cambridge University Press, but working with others could actually really support authors. So I talked about how we work with authors in terms of what this leads to. This pie chart gives a sense of the number of African authors that we've published in our journals over the past 14, 15 years. I can't claim these numbers are high. I would love these numbers to be much higher. The good news is we are seeing an increase. The pale blue section with 340 accounts for 24 other countries. So again, you'll see the range of countries that we're getting authors coming from is really very broad, which is fantastic. But we do want to be able to support authors coming from Africa much more often. Of course, we also publish a range of African books and African studies. Our African Studies series was founded in 1968. I imagine it's changed quite a bit in that time. And has published some of the best scholarship in history, political science and economics over that time. But we've got a broad range of book publishing series and published a wide range of African authors, and this is just a sample of that. I wanted to finish up, but I don't know how to go back. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, I've somehow lost a slide. Oh well. I wanted to finish up with a slide with showing all of our journals on African studies. So if you can just imagine a range of beautiful journal covers. It doesn't look quite so good there. We have a really prestigious range of African studies journals, which we're really committed to and delighted with, and we see that as an important programme for us. I hope that generally my brief presentation has given you a sense of the commitment that we at Cambridge University Press feel to African research. At the moment, we do a lot, but it tends to be on an ad hoc basis. And I think that it feels to me like we're reaching a point where there might be an opportunity for us to take a more systematic approach to the way we look at supporting African research. And I'd be very interested in any ideas anyone has on that basis. So thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much. I think Mandy's put a very intriguing question to everybody in the audience now about, so good work, really good work so far, but how to get it into another level next. So I'd be very interested for any comments as well as questions to Mandy. One on the back right there. Oh, 1, 2 at least we've got just coming down that. And then, yeah, thank you.
Hi there. Could you say something more about the African bibliography in terms of content? Where does that content come from, and how's the content selected?
I'm just smiling at my colleague who's over there, who I'm hoping is going to be able to tell you a little bit more about it. So Martine Walsh will be able to hopefully tell you a little bit more about it in detail than I'll be able to. Thank you, Martine, saving me.
So the Africa Bibliography is compiled each year. We have a bibliographer who may be known to some of you. She's in Cambridge. She's quite connected to the Centre for African Studies. That's Terry Barringer. Terry reviews journal articles, monographs, edited volumes, pamphlets, local African material, from a very wide range of sources. There are several, I think about 2,000 journals are scanned each year, probably many more monographs. And the bibliography does lean slightly more towards the humanities and social sciences, but as you may have seen on the slide that Mandy showed, there is a great deal of content or references to content on public health, HIV/AIDS, and Ebola. All these kinds of things are also covered. There's a lot of health policy journals and health journals covered. So I would encourage you to, those of you who are in Cambridge, to explore the bibliography, because it's a great tool for researchers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Martin.
Hello.
Hi.
Coming back to your point about the high cost of some of the publications,
Mm-hmm.
how does CUP view open access in this field?
Yeah. So open access, I don't know if everybody knows what exactly what open access is. It always seems to me like I spend half of my life talking about open access, but there are some lucky people in the world who don't. So open access is a different approach to journal publishing in particular. Started back in the early 2000s with people feeling that there should be free access to journal content and then free reuse of material. And that one option, there are two basic models for open access. The green open access model, which means that content can be accessed having already been published in a traditional route, and then it will be deposited into an institutional or subject repository where it can be accessed for free. The second model, and the green open access model, is often after an embargo. And then the gold open access model is where the content can be accessed for free immediately on publication in the home publication, but usually there's an author charge, and that's the replacement business model for the subscription model. In terms of your question about how we feel about it, the view that I've always taken is that it's not for a publisher to determine the business model. Our role is to ensure that publishing is sustainable. What I don't want to do is put everything for free and journals to then disappear because there's no way to support them. So our role is to work with communities, look at which business models are right for them, and support that. Wherever we can make content free, and it is sustainable, that's what we'll do, whether that's through an open access model, whether it's through having sections of a journal free, whatever, that's what we'll do. Our goal is to disseminate information, so we're not a profit-driven organisation, but it has to be sustainable, and that's what we work with communities to do. So we do have a range of journals that are fully open access. I think we've got 14, something like that, 14, it's always moving the number, journals that are fully open access, and approaching 300 of our journals are what's called hybrid open access, which means that the author can choose whether they want to pay the open access fee or not.
Great. Thank you very much, Mandy. That was really excellent and helpful explanations as well. Thank you.